I was not popular, I was not lovable, and I was not a comedian. I was just an actor looking for brighter horizons. And let me be very frank and let me tell you, I've said it very often to a lot of people that I had a ball working with Ramsay Brothers. First of all, they gave me such a loose rope, you know, that I could do anything. And I used my humor and my timing and all to improve upon it. And they were very happy. So, come to think of it mentally, the Banshee and I were the main characters of the movies. Hero, heroine sang the songs.
Bollywood grip, agent butter of the bizarre.
Fortunately, I was born and brought up in Mumbai. I did my schooling in Mumbai, in New Era High School at Youth Road, which is now Yaaro Patkar Road or something. And then I went to St. Xavier's College, Mumbai at Dhobi Talao. And in my final year, I had a choice. Either go to Film and Television Institute of India or stay back and finish my graduation. Being an art student, I knew there's nothing much in arts anyways. I mean, all I could look at was clerical job or somewhere, or go to Dubai those days. So I chose this and kept my fingers crossed that if I got selected, maybe I'll buy 2 more years to decide what I want to do. But then as things happened, I was always a topper in FTI. I enrolled in acting course. I was a topper there. So then I took myself a little bit more seriously and decided to become an actor. That's making the long story short. And all this happened in somewhere. I passed out in 1976. And then I had a long period of struggle till 1982. In fact, the most irritating role was that of a Sangha, which was the very first movie and my introduction to Ramsay Brothers. And the movie was Purana Mandir. Well, it all fell in my. I was a struggler then, so definitely I was not a chooser. And somehow they managed to find out that one of the ex-rulers was a very close friend of mine, and his palace happened to be very much near Mumbai. So somehow they approached me and said, "Can you arrange this palace for us to shoot in?" I said, "Well, I'm not the owner, and I don't even know if I have that kind of a clout to persuade him, but I always ask." So he said, "No, we are willing to pay so much," and also all those blah blah blah. I kind of bounced it off to this friend of mine who's an ex-ruler, a royalty, and he somehow agreed. And then there was a lure from Ramses because he knew I was a struggler. Okay, we have a role for you also. Now I knew very well that this is a lure just to make the things happen and get the palace. But then at the same time, I said, what the hell? Any which way, if I'm getting a role, I may as well accept it. I'll make some money and I'll get busy doing it. That's how I entered Purana Mandir. And fortunately and unfortunately for them, I was the only one who was allowed to stay in the palace. They all had to stay in MTDC and all those things. The lodges and all those things around, which generally is because the place we were shot in wasn't a very popular tourist resort then. Now it's a very big resort. And that's how I got this role. Janjira Nawab is a very close friend of mine. So that's one reason he let us shoot. But then, it was a moral responsibility of mine that there's no damage done to the property out there because of the marble layouts and certain antique things. And generally, the film crew is notoriously known for not caring much of, because for them it doesn't matter. They just bang these things around and they look at their convenience and how fast they can move the lights and all, all that things. So I was basically there more of a caretaker and I happened to be playing a role and saw to it that the marble stair didn't get chipped or they didn't misuse it or something like that. And since I was staying in the palace and he had left it all upon me, so it became my responsibility. And my shootings generally happened at night. So I had a whole day in the palace having a ball there because all his servants, the servants who had retired and gone back to that place, they were there to serve me. The food would come from the production. It was a ball. Our first movie. Then, and these guys were smart enough to take stock shots of that palace. So they've used it in so many movies.
बाप रे, कितनी खौफनाक हवेली है।
बेबी, तुम्हारे अंकल को ये भूत बंगला खरीदने की जरूरत क्या थी? अरे ये हवेली तो रामसे ब्रदर्स को खरीदनी चाहिए। एक और हॉरर फिल्म बन जाती है ना? वैसे बेबी तुम मेरे साथ रहना, मुझे डर लगे तो।
Now another beautiful thing happened is a guy had come up, suddenly shot up to fame. You know who I'm talking about, and they had signed him up immediately. So they asked him, in your role you will have a Baisakhi, a crutch. And he said, no, I don't want that crutch, So he said, okay, then what we'll do is we'll burn your half face. And this guy said, no, I wouldn't like to do that also. I just play it straight. So now what to do? They must have a character like that. So they gave me crutches as well as burnt half my face.
भाई साहब ये बीजापुर की हवेली को कौन सा रास्ता जाता है? बीजापुर की हवेली। भाई साहब ठाकुर हरिमंसी की हवेली। रास्ता कौन सा है भाई साहब?
And I, being not a chooser, I had to go through all those things. It was such a pain. And the makeup for half hour, 45 minutes. And peeling it off at the end of the day was a bigger problem. So that's how I landed with that role. It was not a comedy, as you may have seen. I just did whatever I was told to do. That's how I landed up as Sangha. I was not popular, I was not lovable, and I was not a comedian. I was just an actor looking for brighter horizons, a struggler. You see, in my time, there was no assisting stuff like, my own video or my own clips or my own these things. So it was very difficult. All that we had was black and white photographs of us with our addresses written at the back. And with my face, nobody believed I was an actor. And if at all we had to convince the producer that I'm an actor and if I wanted him to see my work, then I would have to go to FTII, pay 500 rupees deposit. 500 rupees was a lot of money those days. And get the reel, which I thought was best show reel for me. Then book a theater here, a mini theater here, and call as many producers as possible. So that at one go, I managed to impress quite a few producers. Means pay for that as well. And then if I invited 10, 1 or 2 would turn up. And most probably it happened that they'd say, good movie, good, sir, you're good. But who was that guy who played that role? Would you give me his number and somebody else would get the role? So I said, this is futile. Till you get a break, one should wait, not get into this rigmarole. So that's how it was. So as you say, popular and loving character and a great comedian and all this all happened only because of a serial I did called Ye Jo Hai Zindagi, where I experimented myself. I used it more like a workshop, Most of the roles were kind of prepared and kind of created by me. Writer just wrote the scripts and I created roles out of it to look different every time. But that's another story and that's history as well. But that's how I became a funster or a loving character and all those things, not by way of movies. Well, when I played Sangha, most of the work was done by the makeup I had put on. I didn't have to do much except say my lines the way the director wanted it and in a certain manner as he wanted me to deliver them. So it was no big deal. And the best part is I couldn't look at myself while performing, so it didn't make me conscious either.
सुमन क्या हुआ? तुम यहाँ क्यों आए हो?
खाना?
And let me be very frank and let me tell you, I've said it very often to a lot of people that I had a ball working with Ramsay Brothers. First of all, they gave me such a loose rope, you know, that I could do anything. And I used my humor and my timing and all to improve upon it. And they were very happy. So I only created Changu and whatever the names were, because long time ago. I remember I even, while on an elephant as a Mangu Daku or something, I was humming Donna Summers.
Love to love you, baby.
So I used to take liberties like this. So I had a ball. I never gave it a thought. I never applied my mind to it. And probably that's why I sailed through the roles. And you see, I shouldn't be saying it, but Ramsay told me very specifically that we have the hero and heroine to sing songs and carry the film forward. Some kind of a thin storyline that we have. We depend totally in performance on a guy who's entertaining, and in parallel we want a horror guy. Then he could be a bhoot, he could be a pishach, or he could be a ghost, an apparition, or a banshee, or anything. So come to think of it, mentally, the banshee and I were the main characters of the movies. Hero, heroine sang the songs. So I had a ball doing it. All the movies I did, I played I enjoyed it thoroughly. And I let them know also. And they probably initially they thought I was making fun of them because I had got some very big banners to work in later on. But I said, no, I'm serious. I really enjoyed doing your movie as much as I enjoyed doing Yash Chopra Saab's movie or Manoj Kumar Saab's movie or any other big, banner like Karan Johar and all, or for a matter of that, even Shah Rukh Khan's production. I had as much ball with Ramses. Okay, fine. They made medium budget or small budget movies, but I was concerned with my fun. And at the same time, I can't complain. They didn't pay me a lot, but I was happy.
हॉरर और सस्पेंस का बादशाह हिचकॉक का नाम तो तुम सुना ही होंगे? हाँ सुना है। गुड भाई उसका दूर का रिलेटिव है हिटकॉक, हिटकॉक Lovely. Move forward. Lovely.
ये आप इसके आगे पीछे क्या देख रहे हैं?
मैं इसे हर एंगल से देख रहा हूँ। मुझे इसमें स्पार्क नजर आता है। ये हिंदुस्तान की टॉप हीरोइन बन सकती है। टॉप हीरोइन। ओह, सॉरी।
आपने अभी तक कौन-कौन सी फिल्में बनाई हैं?
बहुत सी बनाई है, बहुत सी। लेकिन हिंदुस्तान में एक भी नहीं लगी। सब फॉरेन कंट्रीज में लगी है। उधर लगता नहीं है, मेरा फिल्म चिपक जाता है और चलता नहीं है, दौड़ता है। गैलपिंग।
यानी कि बड़ी डरावनी है।
क्या बात करता है मैं? तुमको पता है, हर थिएटर में शो से पहले बाहर एक एम्बुलेंस खड़ा रहता है, क्योंकि पता नहीं कब किसे डर के मारे दिल का दौरा पड़ जाए।
अच्छा?
हर शो में कम से कम 100-150 आदमी थिएटर छोड़ के भाग जाता है पतलून बदलने के लिए। लेकिन आज तुम हमको जुल्लात दे दिया। संडास किधर है?
ऊपर है।
Oh, thank you.
When I was a little kid, about 12 or 13 years old, I had a nice iconic 8mm projector. And my brother used to get those reels, and I had seen this small short film called But Abbott Lou Costello Meet Frankenstein, which had Dracula, which had Frankenstein, which had a Wolfman. And from that day, the thought germinated that a horror movie could be a comedy horror as well. And see, sure enough, now Bhool Bhulaiya is such a big hit. It's a horror comedy. So I had this in my mind for a long time. I had bounced it off to Ramsay's also, and they went ahead with it, and they made one pilot with me. But it wasn't well executed, so it didn't work out. They got confused somewhere halfway. Or maybe the storyline was thin, or maybe they got confused. They were entering the television world for the first time. They weren't experienced, so something went wrong somewhere, and it never saw the light of the day. But that thing was there at the back of my mind. And if you know, besides, after Purana Mandir, I was not involved in horror. I mean, as a horror guy. The horror was around, but I was performing separately.
ओहो, जल्दी करो ना।
Okay. ये पैंट कैसे फट गई?
ये आवाज कैसे आई?
जंगल में ऐसी खौफनाक आवाजें आती ही रहती हैं।
But see, I had progressed economically and everything wise. And Ramsays were always, they had a limited budget. So they couldn't have afforded some bigger actors who charged much more fees because they knew the market was small. They had a very specific, tunnel view about their production and their all hisab kitab, economics and all. But I did a few films for them. I did 3 or 4 movies with them, and then I moved on. And it didn't stop them from making movies anyways. So then, and there was nobody else who could make a horror film unless they signed some big shot, a big star in horror movie, and then they approached me, then they would have that kind of a budget. But it never happened that way. So I moved away from horror, and I have done some horrible roles, but you can't call it horror.